guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to Dying to Laugh. I'm Amanda Hunt.
I'm Maritza Montañez.
And we are, we're doing a podcast about death.
Yeah.
And like how funny it can be, or funny people talking about sad stuff. We'll see what pops up today.
Yeah. And actually today's really exciting because we recorded our other episode, but this is our first episode with a guest.
Yes, that's so true. A handsome guest. Mm-hmm. His name is ZakSommerfield. Ooh, you may have seen him with improv teams Judith or Barbarians, sketch Juggernaut, Scorpion Bowl. And you may have seen his work because he's actually a prolific director. You may have recently seen his work at Solocom. Or, Maritza, do you want to?
Yeah. Also, the Bad Theater Festival and at 54 Below. Yeah.
Jay Mowski is Elaine Stritch.
Yeah.
Hi, Zach.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Good.
I feel like I just turned on my radio voice.
Me too. I felt the exact same. I was like, I don't think I normally speak in this tone. What am I doing?
I mean, I'll tell you guys a secret. I answer the phone at my work in this tone.
Oh, really?
And everybody says, "Oh, that's Amanda's sexy phone voice." My parents call it the quiet, sexy lady.
Your parents call it the sexy lady.
Listen, my parents know that a sexy voice is a sexy voice.
Wow.
It's disembodied for them. They can step away and just appreciate the art of the sexy voice.
Yeah, I've seduced a lot of people with my voice.
But not your parents.
Not my parents. Not my
I'm
parents.
from the South.
Fair. That's fair.
So Zach, we talk about death on this podcast because it's like a sad, scary thing, and we want to make it less scary or sad, or like let it be sad. I don't know. If we're sad, we're sad. Mm-hmm. What is your first memory or like experience with death?
Tasty.
Tasty death. Let's see. Well, I mean, I remember like having a squirrel funeral, as everyone does.
No.
What do you mean no?
How old were you when?
Oh, I don't know, between like second and like fourth grade. Mm-hmm. I grew up, we moved around a lot, but the one place where I was at between like first grade and like fifth grade was very rural.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was like a town, it was actually a village. They called it the village of Waltz, Waltz, Michigan. It had a hardware store, one restaurant, and I think it actually had a general store,
I like it.
Yeah, which might have been the hardware store. That would make sense. Maybe so it had one store and one restaurant. But it was very, very like woodsy and stuff. And yeah, I mean, I remember finding a dead squirrel in the winter, and I made my friends have a funeral for it. I thought everybody did that.
I think that's so sweet.
Yeah, but it was really annoying because the ground was too hard.
Right.
Because it was
it's
winter.
It's frozen.
So it was really hard to bury him. So I think eventually we settled for just setting him in a field with leaves on him.
When a squirrel passes away unexpectedly, you're trying to do the best you can to cobble together a funeral.
I mean, he didn't have any, insurance to cover funeral costs.
Of course.
We couldn't get a backhoe or anything.
I mean,
there weren't a lot of jobs in that town.
There were not. You're right. I could have probably found someone to dig up a hole.
And
I meant like the squirrel. There weren't a lot of jobs for anyone, but especially for a squirrel.
And now you could do a Kickstarter campaign and raise money to bury that squirrel.
I mean,
this was before this
was before the internet, probably.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I was also in second grade before the internet. So
I just had a thought. Do people invite people to funerals via Facebook now?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Maritza has such a good story about this.
Oh.
This only happened to me recently. I've seen things where people announce a funeral on Facebook, but that I was like, okay, that's different. Mm-hmm. You're trying to reach their network. It's hard. In August, I think, I got a Facebook event invitation. So it was someone created a Facebook event for a funeral.
What was the cover photo?
I think it was a ghost. That's the thing,
it was a normal person's funeral, not an improv person, right? It wasn't like
funeral.
A zany corpse falling out of a. It wasn't Weekend at Bernie's.
Falling out of the coffin.
It's like, okay, I'm going to make this Facebook event. I know that only 30% of people will come. There's a 30% flake rate. Or 70% flake rate, I guess. But no, I think the cover photo was a photo of the person who had died, but it was like a photo of a framed photo.
Oh, so like
Which is
respectful.
also like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was not too
and
bad.
like had to somehow
I
like
know.
I'll take this photo to put on
So then, like, every
Facebook.
day you go on Facebook and it comes up in your events, like, in 2 days you have a funeral.
Yeah, and like I wound up, I think I saw this a few days before, or like a day before a show that I think Amanda was hosting. Yes, it was Amanda's show, and I wound up writing a bit about it because I was just like, what? I was like, it's so and that's the thing. At first, I was like mad. I was like, this is tacky.
Yeah.
Like, don't send a Facebook event for this. Like, it's so weird. It's all like public grief is so tricky. I was like, but a Facebook event feels a step too far.
Yeah.
Like
and
very
then-
casual.
Very casual. Like, it's like, that's like, oh, I'm having a birthday party, but I don't quite know who to invite, so I'll invite everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does feel like a hedge. Like a Facebook event is a
Yeah.
hedge.
But honestly, like, how
know?
do you get invited to funerals in the past? Honestly, like,
I don't know.
I don't even remember. I've been to funerals.
I feel like I don't remember. I feel like when I've known of funerals as like an adult, it's usually like, oh, someone dies, and then it's like, oh no, don't ask, just wait for it to come out in the paper.
Yes, the
or like
paper
look it
would
up
do
in
it
their
a lot.
obituary.
Yeah, the paper
And
does it.
I guess that makes sense that like a lot of people don't get the paper anymore.
Yeah,
like,
there are no papers.
Yeah, my grandfather died a couple years ago, and I was like, it was my family like hosted everyone. He was like buried in our city, so like I think we just called people.
Yeah, yeah,
You
that's
know?
very common too. But then
Yeah.
I always wonder with that, it's like, do you miss the like people you don't know that they were friends with?
Yeah.
You know, like one of my this isn't one of my first memories. I guess we're still on that
Well,
question.
we can
But,
go
look,
move
wander.
No,
around.
we're doing question by question.
Let's get back to that squirrel.
Like, I grew up in the woods. You don't just wander around the woods. You stay on the path in the woods. You finish that path, and then you turn around and go back to
right.
the other path if you need
That
to.
is
Otherwise, you spend the night in the woods.
That's true.
Yeah, yeah. Mm.
So, what were you going to say?
Oh God! When one of my most famous deaths in my mind, I don't know how to say it. One of the deaths
Like
that was like the most
notable.
impactful, was I had a piano teacher in college who probably hates me from heaven now because I don't play at all. But
I don't think that's how heaven works.
no, she's like, sitting there cursing
Judging.
me out. Dan thinks I make too much body noise. So
I mean,
you can't see this.
He's got
Pounding on the table.
he's got headphones in, so it's not his opinion that's driving this.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
I also love that you called it body noise. Guys, Zach was, I think it was that he was tapping on the table.
I was tapping on the
The
table.
body noise makes me think you're like,
And also,
All right, this is not a podcast about bathroom stuff.
or like, I imagine the thing of where little kids put their hand in their armpit and then
make
like
the
squish.
the squishy noise.
Yeah. I do like a body noise.
Yeah.
So your piano
Yeah,
teacher
your
up
piano-
in heaven,
Yes,
Zach.
she-
Why aren't you practicing?
I even gave away my keyboard 2 years ago. I know. But anyway, I loved her. She was sick for many years. She had breast cancer, and she survived it for a very long time. And then she got very sick. And it was a college I went to, and I was very close with like the whole sort of music and theater community there. And so I just automatically expected that if she died, I would know. I was in touch with her, and the fact that we would like email like every 6 months to like check in.
Right.
But like that's not enough. I didn't expect her to be on her deathbed like, gotta email Zach, before she did it. So I just expected everyone to tell me.
Yeah.
And she died, and no one did, and there was no like Facebook announcement or anything. And I just went around my months thinking like, oh, Elfie, it's fine, da 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 da.
Yeah.
And I like go to like, oh wait, no, I'm telling the story. I'm lying. It wasn't
Creatively
months. It
remembering.
wasn't months, but she died, and I found out. Like literally like the day before the funeral.
Where it's like, then it's also hard to like.
Because the thing was,
logistically pull it off.
I was in town was part of it, right? I was in Michigan, so I could have gone to the funeral, but my flight back was already like I couldn't change it,
Right.
so like, and then I had to send flowers because I always send flowers because that's the right thing to do, and yeah. My point of this story that I've told in a weird way is that no one told me.
Mm-hmm.
And that was annoying.
Yeah.
So I would have liked a Facebook invite,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
you know?
I mean,
Yeah.
I think like I belong to like a community of like theater majors from my college, and it's like everybody who's been a theater major and is on Facebook from like the past however many decades. And I would say if somebody died in our community, that's probably where it would go.
Yeah. And I wrote them a nasty
know.
email because her secretary, she was the director of the music department. It wasn't so nasty. It wasn't like right after the funeral. I was like, how dare you? You know, I just said like, I wish that, you know, this group of people would have told me if one of you dies.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I know I've been gone for 10 years. Oh, I think I did it in a Facebook post.
Oh, Zach.
I used to be much more ranty.
You like popped this up in your, was it on your wall? Like you were like, tag. I wish one of you dummies would have said, oh, the piano teacher's dead. Zach, come to the funeral.
Location. Not my hometown because no one told me.
No one
I had to fly back.
Yeah. I was on a plane.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, it's so weird. That just made me realize I had a very old I'm not wording this well.
That's
in
right.
high school, I had a private flute instructor who was already older. So I just realized he's probably dead because it's been 10 years, almost.
How old was he?
I think he was already in his 80s.
Okay.
Wait, no,
still be alive.
Maybe not 80s. He fought in a war.
Sure.
He fought in a war. Because part of the reason he was a flute, he was like a very good flautist. Then he went to some war, guys. It was not Korea. Could not, no.
No, Korea could be.
It could have been Korea.
That definitely could be.
I'm like,
if you said
God.
World War I, I'd be like, okay.
Like, the War of 1812, probably not.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the reason he stopped playing flute is that he was already very old.
He was a ghost.
Yeah. Oh,
you had
shit.
a ghost teacher, which is like a great TGIF sitcom that I would really watch.
I would love that.
Ghost teacher.
I would love that.
I like ghosts doing mundane jobs in general. I will watch any of that.
I know.
Yeah, but basically he was a great flautist. He went to some war. I feel like it was probably not Korea. I think he wasn't quite that old. I think he went to Vietnam. And somehow in some sort of explosion, he like lost some of the tendons in his hand.
Ooh.
And it was like,
oh God.
Which is like, oh, it's like such a targeted injury where it's like, oh, yeah, now you can't play your flute very well.
Yeah, now the one thing that you love, you can't do that one thing.
Yeah, and like he figured out kind of how he like had some surgeries, and also when he would play, because he figured out how to keep playing, but he wasn't as fast, and he would put like rubber bands around. I'm showing them.
Yeah.
My, like your ring finger and middle finger,
like in the middle knuckle,
like around both of them, so that they wouldn't just sort of go.
Like a splint, sort of, but like a flexible splint.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the Viet Cong were notorious for hating marching bands.
They did, and
that's
particularly
so
woodwinds.
True. Everyone knows that about the Viet Cong, that they hate marching bands.
They took out a lot of woodwind players.
Very rough. Very rough. Nobody's embouchure came back intact.
Nobody. Yep.
That's so terrible. I'm so sorry to everyone listening to this podcast. I feel like my mother loves to tell any tragedy at all, and like I think I am maybe the wrong audience for her to tell that stuff to, because if she tells me about somebody I know, like this can be anything. Like sometimes it's a death, sometimes it's something serious like cancer, sometimes it's something like her car is completely totaled. She's fine, but it's very scary. And so,
like that's her telling you about someone else.
Yes, someone like some other Amanda,
like her
did
sexy
you?
death
Yeah,
voice.
I think I get my sexy voice from my mom's death talks, because she'll be like, Amanda, you know Jane Smith, and I'm like, I don't. And she's like, you know her.
If you saw her, you'd know her.
If you saw her, you'd know her. She went to something with your father. And it's like, okay, well, what? Okay. And then like my mom will tell a sad thing about this person I don't know. And this will be like, I'm off the plane. I'm in the car driving to either our house or wherever we're going as soon as I've arrived. And my mom's like, great to see you. Let me tell you this sad news. So
I
like,
have to break it to you now.
yeah, like I want to tell you immediately. Like we'll get to the rest of your vacation, but first I got to get out these tragedies. And so I feel like if anything, Actually, I know that when I decided, oh, this is really sad. I'm sorry, this is about to be so sad.
Okay.
When I decided to stop auditioning for musical theater and like stop waiting tables and doing all that stuff and wanted to like get into like administrative assisting, get my toe in that hot world. I had a friend from high school who had done a similar thing, and we hadn't talked since high school, not because of anything, just like you can't talk to everybody, you know. And she lived up here. My mom was like, "Well, reach out," and I was like, "Okay, I'll reach out." So we Facebook messaged back and forth, and she's so lovely, and we were going to get brunch on like a Sunday, and that Saturday and like that Friday night, she kind of ghosted on me. Like I was like, "Where do you want to go for brunch?" Blah blah blah, and like she didn't get back to me, and I was like, "Well, she's doing me a favor, so I'm not going to push this. Like if I hear back from her, great, and if not, I'll follow up with her another time." And then I went out like very late on Saturday, like tore it up in a way that I have rarely done before or since. So Sunday morning rolls around, and I have only been home for a few hours, and I'm very, very, very hungover. And my mom calls me, and I was like, it's 9 a.m. My mom calls, and I'm like, oof, not answering this phone call. And then she calls the second time, and I was like, all right, whatever. And so I pick up, and my mom says, Amanda, are you at a restaurant? And I was like, I am in my bed. It's 9 a.m.
Are you at a restaurant?
And then like, right?
Are you at a restaurant?
And so I was like, no, Mama, like, even if I were getting brunch, I wouldn't. Brunch is no, that's breakfast.
Right.
I'm not, you know. So then I explained the mechanics of brunch to my mom, which like didn't matter.
Wow.
Yeah. So like really burying the lead of this phone call, and my mom was like, "Oh my God, Susan is dead. She died." And I was panicked that you were sitting in a restaurant just waiting for her.
Oh.
And she wasn't. And then I was like, well, I'm a real asshole for like explaining all that brunch stuff. And so she like, she had come home from like a work thing where they were like doing shots or something. And like that kind of, I understand when you're like in a work office culture where everybody's doing it and you feel like you have to do it too. And they sent her home in a car, and she fell down her stairs and she broke her neck, and they think she died instantly. And it's like very, you know, like, they don't think she suffered or anything like that. And so then my mom, like her parents donated her organs because her parents are great people. But when you donate organs, you don't do it. It's not like in Grey's Anatomy, like when they're like, oh, someone has died, get their heart. Like it's like a 3-day clean out period before they can get in there. So they have to keep you medically alive.
Yeah.
Which is like, you know, you've just lost your only child. And so my mom's like, you have to go to the hospital. And I was like, okay. So I like put on like, I like managed to like get myself together enough to like walk up to Columbia and see her. And it was so terrible, you know, like it was so like shockingly terrible. And her parents were so brave. And so, yeah, if somebody died, I know my mom would tell me immediately. Yeah.
Well, the good thing about that is at least you and the dead person were equal amounts of hungover.
Oh my God. Well, we weren't. She'd been cleaned out for 2 days.
Oh, she'd already been cleaned. I'm sorry. I mean,
so sometimes I laugh silently. So I feel like I had to like note that so for the listener to be like, oh God, Zach said that, and there is
everybody's just like
having it.
Maritza just walked out of the room and then came back. She's mad. And it was so terrible. Obviously, I didn't go to the funeral because it was in my hometown.
Yeah.
But people still post on our Facebook wall, and I don't know, I have a kill pact. Do you guys have like a death pact with a friend where like if I die, my friend's gonna shut down my Facebook?
No, but I'm gonna make a note.
Because I don't want that. Like I don't want.
Oh, I love that.
Really?
I love Facebook memorials. Yeah.
I get conflicted, but you.
Well, because it's just like so my dog Buddy Summerfield had a Facebook page.
Oh.
He was hilarious.
He dictated to you.
Yeah, he loved breads. He couldn't pronounce things right because he was a dog.
Right.
Of
course.
But everybody look it up. It's still there. Buddy Summerfield, Facebook.
Friend Buddy Summerfield on Facebook.
Does he still accept?
No, well, sometimes I'll accept them for him, but he had a very limited following because I kept it to just his close friends.
Of course.
You know, so I liked it because when he passed away, it gave people a place to like go. I mean, it's a dog, but people get very sad about animals.
Oh my God, yeah.
And my family will never hear this, but creating this Facebook page was part of my plan to help them deal with the grief. Because we'd had Buddy, he's a golden retriever. I think he got to be about 14 years old. So
that's old for a golden retriever.
Yeah, he was super old, and he had hip dysplasia, but he just had the best attitude about it. Except the one thing, I bought him a dog wheelchair, and he refused to use it.
Buddy, don't be so prideful.
He was too prideful. I put him in it, and all he would do is lay down. I'd be like,
God.
no, you can walk now. Your ability to walk has been restored. He'd be like,
I can't believe you bought him a dog wheelchair.
my family was so mad. It was like $400 or something.
Oh.
But I was like, this is worth it because it'll like extend his enjoyment of his life. He could live for like 2 more years, you know. But he refused to use it, and that made me mad.
Did you donate the wheelchair, or
I think I told my mom to send it back.
Oh,
you know, because you could get like a semi refund on it.
Yeah,
but I don't know if she ever did.
Especially if it was mostly unused, like if he refused to use it.
Yeah, it was almost mint condition. So part of my plan to help them grieve was to have this Facebook page because I posted, you know, while he was live, so many videos of him on there and photos of him saying funny things and, you know.
Just so I can be clear about the videos, was he like you were reading his mind and
the videos are just straight up videos of him.
Sure.
But, you know, he would comment, you know, he would post a photo and he would comment.
Okay.
You know.
He was like very witty on the Facebook comment.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I like.
We will remember how we're gonna like probably have some kind of website or something. We'll post some very key Buddy Sommerfield, some real bon mots from. That's how you say that, right?
Yeah,
a
a
bon mot,
bon
yeah,
mot,
sweet
right?
treat.
Yeah.
Good mot or whatever.
Little Buddy Sommerfieldisms. We'll be posting
Yes.
those on that
Yes.
place.
Yeah, my favorite part of that though was some photos of him speaking made me think. Like, I just imagine this great regal golden retriever, like, at a podium. Like, just, like, speaking to a conference of, like, other dogs. Who are, like, trying to prepare their families.
Yes.
Oh, God. My owner, Zach, made a Facebook page for me so that when I pass on, my family can grieve. And so can all of yours.
So can all of yours.
Love this
Our dog had a
podcast.
Facebook page, but my brother maintained it, and he hates Facebook.
Oh.
So, like, I mean, but also my mom can't use Facebook. Like, I friended her, and that's, like, gotten lost. So, either my mom's good at Facebook and harsh, or she's...
I'm not friend of that.
I don't want her to see my posts.
Yeah. But in the end, it literally helped them because they all went there and they said like goodbye to him. I was able to like announce it to people who, you know, because we used to have these family friends who were kind of like maids, but they were our friends or whatever, and they really loved Buddy. And you know, everybody got to do it. And then, you know, even when it helped me when I was like sad, I just like watched the old videos of him.
Yeah.
You know. So, and I feel like that's there forever. And I think the same thing for a person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you're dead and then you get buried.
Right.
And then we just put this stupid stone with your name on it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm like, what is that?
Yeah.
You know
And
what I
think,
mean?
especially for people, I feel like who like move away from home, which I feel like is a lot of people.
Certainly in New York.
Yeah.
At least in New York. Yeah. I'm like, is it a lot of people or is it because I'm here?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of people that we all in this room know.
Yeah.
At least.
Where it's so hard to like grieve necessarily with the people who knew them.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I guess like this can be like a shared space to do that in.
Yeah.
Like it takes the loneliness out of grief a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you could connect with people that you might not necessarily know that you both were friends or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's a good thing. I think, and I could be wrong about this, but I believe Facebook has made a way to turn your page into a memorial now, right?
I just like I feel so strange about that. Like, have you guys seen Black Mirror?
Yes.
Ooh, no.
Well, I won't spoil anything, but there's an episode
So if there is a spoiler, but maybe our listeners don't.
If you haven't, like, fast forward like 2 minutes if you haven't seen Black Mirror. But there's an episode where this woman's husband dies and she can't deal with it, but it's like Black Mirror is all like slightly in the future. Like not enough they'd have to costume anything weird, but like enough that you could be like, oh, that technology could exist. And they build a human like personality for him. Like he like can call her on the phone, like based on his social media stuff.
Yep.
And I feel like very weirdly upset by stuff like that. Like I don't like we drink rosé in between like May and October, and that makes it special that you don't drink it all the time. People are special because when they're here, you can appreciate them. And when they're gone, maybe it's better just to remember them. Like to me, I think that's why it bothers me.
Well, I think that the Facebook is helping you remember them. That's my thought on it.
Yeah.
It certainly will give you like a twisted thing because the memories you reinforce more often are the ones that will stay stronger in your ability to access them. So like, you know, if you're looking at the Facebook page again and again, you'll remember those things more. But, you know, what are we after we're gone? We're nothing but data stored in the brains of the people who knew us.
Yeah.
Whoa.
You know?
Yeah. And like I had a blog for a little while that I like to
It was Joey. Whoa. It's him like Joey Lawrence.
After he's gone, he'll have tons of footage. We'll remember Joey Lawrence
we will.
forever.
We will.
It'll just be footage of it. There'll be like a little. Are Vines still a thing? It'll be like a Vine or a GIF or something of him just going, whoa.
Or maybe like a supercut, like whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yep. They'll play that at his funeral, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, I hope they played at mine.
Yeah.
I want people to laugh at my funeral and not in a triumphant way, like in a like I want people to laugh at funny things that I would think are funny.
Yeah. I don't want people going to my funeral and laughing triumphantly over my body.
Yeah.
Being like, we got her.
Yeah, like I outlived that old bitch. Like I don't want like maybe one or two people, but like I don't want that to be like the focus.
Yeah. You do want one or two so that like just to prove you were important.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
if you're important, you have a hater.
Yes. Oh my God, please.
Yes, if you don't have enemies or nemesis, you're nobody.
Thank you. Agreed. I'm working on it. Maritza, how many enemies would you say you have?
I think honestly at least 3.
That's because you're powerful and interesting.
Yeah.
Zach, how many enemies how many enemies would you say you have of people who are enemies to you and not just you to them?
Oh, that's a much smaller number. Because I'm enemies with a lot of people in my mind.
Oh, and if we count those, I have so many.
Sure, of course.
I don't know if they would come to my funeral to laugh, but
I like to think they would like put a frowny face on like Amanda has passed like a frowny comment on like I wish everybody listening could see the face Zach just made. It was kind of, you know, that frowny that's like just a slant mouth where it's supposed to be like, do you want chicken for dinner? Like that's the emoticon that Zach's face just made.
like mild dissatisfaction.
I would, I want more extreme reactions than that. Yesterday, this is insane, guys. I'm sorry about this. I was listening to Rent, and I was like, what if somebody had at their funeral a contest where like you have to sing "I'll Cover You," and the person who doesn't cry wins, but also loses because everyone in the room knows that they're like a sociopath.
Wow.
My work's not going great right now. If that's not clear from that.
Wow.
But like I really did think about that. Do you think you could go to a funeral of someone you cared about and sing "I'll Cover You" and make it through the end?
Oh no.
I don't know.
I can't even make it through my apartment just singing it alone.
I don't know that I could do it without having anyone in my even like I don't think I know the lyrics.
Yeah, I don't think I could do it without weeks of rehearsal.
So they would have to let me know that they're dying in advance.
Well, like my grandmother said, when I die, I want you to sing "His Eye is on the Sparrow."
Oh.
And so I learned "His Eye is on the Sparrow." And then my mom made me sing it at her funeral. Not made me. My grandmother wanted me to do it. But it is hard to sing at somebody's funeral who you like love.
Yeah.
And then I had to sit on the stage behind the preacher by myself so that I wouldn't trip on the way to the podium.
But then it's like, oh.
I mean, like, imagine just being up on stage all by yourself in a choir loft meant for like 100-person choir and just you.
Wow.
It was.
How powerful.
Oh. See, and I was going to say how lonely.
Oh.
It was both
We're
of those
both
things.
right.
We're both right.
Yeah,
We're
it was both of those things.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He said we're at 30.
Oh.
Yeah, we're at 30.
We don't have 30 more minutes?
We can do as many minutes as we want. If you've got 2 hours on death, we're going to do a 2-hour. We're not going to do a 2-hour death podcast.
Podcasts have caps.
No, I mean, like, not like only self-imposed caps.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I was going to say, do you guys have any like death rituals that you do with family members or people who died?
My family, this is not specific to my family, but we're Mexican, so we do, I don't know how you, a novenario is what we call it in Spanish, where it's like, I think it's probably very similar to other cultures do a similar thing, where it's like 9, ours is 9 days of praying, basically. Which it's not like an all day thing. It's not like sitting Shiva or something.
Yeah.
But it's like, every evening for 9 days after the person dies and like through the funeral and past it, depending on when the funeral is. But whatever, for 9 days after they die, everyone gathers in the evening and like prays the rosary, which takes a really long time because it's basically going through the entire rosary. Like you pray a certain set of prayers, but it's like going through every bead.
Oh, I thought the rosary was just touch, done.
No, this is the sign of the cross.
Oh, okay.
You guys didn't see that.
So the sign of the cross is the sign of the cross you make on yourself, and the rosary are the beads.
It's like shoulders, head, and chest.
Were they made of little dried up roses at some point, or am I making that up?
Some are. I don't know if it's all of them or if it's like a tradition too.
Roses are made of dried roses?
They can be.
Or rosewood.
Some.
Apparently Carly's saying rosewood. Yeah, there's back nodding and back like reinforcing
back
and
talking.
support. Back support. So like yes, but so they're made out of like something with rose, and that's why they're called rosaries.
Yeah, I think like nowadays a lot of them are made from different materials. Like I had one that was like a glass rosary. But I think that was also kind of a novelty one where it was like, oh, this is for your first communion as a gift.
Right.
And my sister brought she like went to the Vatican and brought everyone like rosaries made of, I don't know if they were dry roses, but they were covered in Pope
bones.
Oh, Pope bone rosaries. Very inexpensive, easy to purchase on the streets of the Vatican.
Because the thing is, there have been so many popes.
There have been hundreds.
Right.
And they have literally hundreds of bones each.
Yeah. Well, isn't that how you've become Pope when you get all those extra bones? Like when God puts more bones in you, that's like, oh, this guy's going to be Pope, or at least like a big cardinal.
Honestly, the minute that the smoke goes up at the Vatican, it's like, woo, we got
his bones. We got his bones.
Yeah, like a train.
New Pope.
Then all of a sudden they grow so many bones.
Yeah. That's why they walk so slowly. It's harder when you have so many more bones. Guys, this is real Catholic. This is real Catholic science. Like this is the stuff they won't tell you in the Bible.
I'm a bad Catholic. What was this last Pope's name? The one that just stepped
Benedict.
down? Benedict.
The one who was like
monster.
maybe asked to leave.
Yeah, he looked like an evil man.
Good. I don't like him.
Bye.
But what happened to all his extra bones?
Well, that's tough because like you don't get those bones taken out. God's not taking those bones out. So like you're just gonna like
just gotta
walk
break him every day so he can bend his limbs.
Yeah, every day because now he doesn't have all his Pope magic to walk. So he's like breaking bones no matter how he. That sounds terrible. It sounds very painful. The nubs,
knuckles down.
He's
Standing them.
The Pope is basically like Wolverine.
Yeah.
That's where Wolverine, the inspiration for Wolverine comes from.
True. That's true. Yeah. Yep.
I don't think it makes you a bad Catholic to not remember his name.
Yeah, I was like, I kept wanting to say Francis, and I was like, no.
Is that this Pope? Oh no. Guys, we love
feel
this
like,
Pope
yes,
now.
We love this Pope.
I'm super into this Pope.
I'm in my head. So also again, I'm gonna bring up my culture a whole lot.
Sure.
I'm like, sorry everyone, but also
Don't
in
apologize.
Spanish, well, I guess in English too. Never mind. This is a universal thing. We just call him the Pope.
Yes.
Like,
Sure.
El Papa, the
Il
Pope.
Papa. Yeah, that's the Italian, right?
Yeah. Oh, probably.
Yeah.
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 Spanish and Italian, real close.
Real
Mhm.
close.
Good friends. Good friends.
Romance languages, the French, Spanish, Italian, and Romanian.
Ooh.
Actually, the closest to Latin.
Interesting.
I remember
Those are then Latin, a dead language.
Yes.
a dead language.
Yes.
Poor thing.
Well, yeah. Sorry, Latin. But we had it for a while. I studied it in middle school.
Yeah, I studied it for
Ooh.
fun.
Mhm.
Ooh.
Zach studied it for fun.
I just think it's cool. It's kind of like a wizard's language now.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, that is what sort of like all fantasy sort of is always like, well, you have to say spells in this old language. And that comes from like this idea that like, because Latin was everywhere
Mm-hmm.
during the Roman Empire and so many people use it as their common language. And then it like they got defeated and it disappeared, but that language was there through the church.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Well, and it morphs.
and-
Like language is always like changing and growing, and
Yeah.
it lives on and cognates in a lot of languages, like
but
most
it is-
Western
but
languages.
It is a dead language.
Mm-hmm.
But its
You know.
memory lives on.
But its memory
Me-
lives
Also,
on.
the Catholic Mass again
Yeah.
was in Latin until like was it
50s, right? I could be
It
wrong.
might be the 50s. I feel like it was like until 50s probably, and then maybe in some places I think until I want to say the 70s, but I don't know if that's right. I can't remember when Vatican II was.
Mm.
We're gonna post some Vatican facts on that website as
Guys.
well. Buddy the dog, funny things,
And where to get a Pope
and
bone.
where to get a Pope bone
bone
and
rosary.
Vatican like timeline.
Mhm.
So that's what you guys do is you sit what do you call it? The
Yeah, the novenario.
the novenario.
Mhm. Otherwise, I don't know of a lot of like ritual. I've only lost like 2 people close to me,
Mhm.
and one I was very little, so I didn't pay attention, and then the other one was like one where it was like, oh, hometown friend, and it was too far. Like I was like, oh, I can't go to the funeral,
Mm.
so it was just like, oh, is crying's a ritual?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But no,
Mm.
and I guess we've lost other people, but like we being my family,
Yeah.
not like the royal we.
I would love that though.
And I think it's always been like older people in our family or even younger, but then we do like just that rosary.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing of like food.
Yeah.
People giving each other, that's a universal thing.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think that's
yeah.
a very universal thing. It's certainly a Midwestern tradition is to send people food.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really nice. 'Cause they don't have to cook, I guess.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. I started, I'm very lucky because no one in my immediate family has died. I've lost all my grandparents,
Mhm.
but they all went, sorry, aunts, if you knew more about how they went because I wasn't there, but they all went like at a time when they kind of should.
Right.
Like my grandma, or both of them were in their 80s,
Mhm.
My grandma Lorna, who was like my closest grandma, she had cancer and it was very terrible. It wasn't like a pleasant
Mhm.
thing, but with her, it was like she was suffering so much. It was like,
You feel sad to lose them, but like
yeah, you're like,
happy for them to be released.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And my other grandma, my mom's mother, she had Alzheimer's. And I only remember the fun parts of it because I would go and visit and, she would be, I could tell her the same joke again and again.
Oh my God,
And
Zach.
she loved it. And I enjoyed it.
Okay.
So what I started doing, when my grandma Lorna died, who was like the closest, she was the one who she was the grandma where we always went and stayed at her house for all the holidays. She was the one where we all did all this stuff. So for her, it was the most like devastating loss that I had. So I can't remember why, but we're there and my immediate family stayed at her house, and she wasn't there, and it was really weird. And we were getting ready for the funeral, and I don't remember why my mom and dad and my 2 brothers, they went somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and my sister and I were there. We were getting dressed for the funeral, and I was like, this is just so strange to be around all of her stuff, And so we started like going through all of her stuff. And I was like, you know what? Let's wear her clothes to her funeral.
Zach.
I know.
That's
It
really
touches my
sweet.
heart.
Yeah. So I know this could turn into like a Robin Williams comedy where I dress up like my grandma.
Or some kind of crazy M. Night Shyamalan thing.
Yes.
Yeah, to be clear, you guys dressed as her not for like good sentimental reasons, but to pass for her.
Right.
Trick
To spook our family.
into like remarrying.
So you haunted your grandmother's funeral as her.
Yeah.
Did you wear her clothes to the funeral?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, we did not do that. We did not dress up like her.
Just more like
We each
garb.
took, like I wore a belt,
Right.
you know, because it was mannish enough. You know what I mean? There wasn't like a sparkly glitter belt, you know?
Nothing is wrong. Anyone can wear a sparkly glitter belt at any time.
They can.
That's true.
They can. So I wore her like a belt of hers, and my sister wore like one of her dresses,
Mhm.
you know? And I don't know, that really felt good,
Yeah.
you know? And also we took, I don't know what they do with the bodies. I've heard different things.
Mhm.
Like at several funerals I've been to, when it's open casket, there is a little drawer above the person on the lower half of the casket where you can leave things. I don't know if this is common or if it's a new trend. I have no idea. But I knew
Wait,
that it
it's like on the door of the cat. Like,
yeah.
can
So
you?
coffins have two doors, right?
Yeah.
There's one that covers the legs, and
Right.
one that covers the head.
Mhm.
Yeah. So open
they're
casket usually, and all caskets are obviously not the same either, but
Right.
open casket usually the head one is open.
Right.
So the drawer is in the leg cover, and it's right there, sort of like facing the person.
Interesting.
Oh,
I
so you can
wonder.
like pull it out, put stuff, and then it goes
Yeah.
back in, and it's like
Yep.
on top of their like.
Belly, yeah.
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 Huh.
That is interesting. I feel like when I've been to funerals and it's been like that, like open casket, they haven't had the drawer.
Maybe
And you just like put it in.
with
The
the
drawer is
person.
interesting.
Yeah.
I've never been to a funeral where there was a body. Like
That's-
I don't know if it's because we're
What?
wasps. We cremate.
Oh.
Everyone in my family's been
Oh.
cremated, and like that's like a big thing with us. I don't, and like my parents want it because it's more environmentally friendly. But like all of my Mima is still kicking. She's such a lady.
Yeah.
But my other 3 grandparents have passed away, and I think they were all cremated.
Wow. Not my family.
Yeah, we just like that's like a thing that we do, but like I don't know, is that a Baptist thing? Maybe
I don't know. My family's always done caskets, except 2-3 years ago, my grandpa died, and there was a huge fight because I think he told my grandma like he wanted to be cremated.
Mhm.
And she's very, very Catholic, and which I don't even know if it's a Catholic thing, but she's very Catholic and very traditional, and was like, I don't want that. So they fought about it a lot. They knew he was gonna die, but they fought about it a lot.
She and he
Um,
fought.
Yeah, and ultimately when he died, she was like, he's getting cremated because that's what he wanted, which is like good.
Yeah.
You're the one that we expected to put up the most fight over this. One of my uncles was like, no, this is awful. Like, this is completely awful. You can't do this to his body. You guys are burning him. And we were like, you were not.
Like this is not your fight.
Yeah, it's like your mother already chose.
Yeah.
Based on his decision.
Mhm.
But it just occurred to me, I don't know how this must have worked. We had like a funeral with his with like a casket, and he was in it.
Yeah.
There was like a wake and everything, and then we put him there. The funeral was like in their hometown, which is like in Mexico. It's a very small town up in the mountains. Very small town. More than just a general store, but a very small town.
Sure. 2 general stores.
Yeah, more than 2 general stores. Yeah, about 3.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, we went from the church, and everyone walked to the edge of town behind the car that was carrying his casket, and then the car was like leaving town to go to the crematorium.
That is a more common
okay.
Latino tradition. Not, and I say more like Latin, like Italian people, Greek, all like Southern Europe does like a procession.
And in
that makes sense. Their
New
funeral
Orleans,
marches.
right?
Yes.
Like that's like
Well,
a
it's
Louisiana.
like the French kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The WASPy people don't do that.
We
It's
do
a
not.
very
Germans
Catholic
don't
thing,
do
Oh,
that.
sorry.
Yeah, it's
I
very
would imagine.
Catholic. Yeah.
That's really interesting.
But it's that like that kind of thing. My dad said he would want something like that. Like he was like, I want people drinking champagne. I want a good band, and it's like, well, just never die. And we won't have to worry about it. But I do like. I feel like that's a generous thing. Like wanting people to like remember you in a good way and like leave your funeral feeling like good about your life.
Yeah.
You know.
Instead of like desolate.
Yeah. I mean, like. I don't know. It's tough to imagine being like, bye, Dad. Thanks for the good memories. But that's like his. I think a lot of people want that. Like a lot of people don't want sad funerals. And a lot of people do.
Yeah. That's weird. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think.
Have you decided what you would like?
Sad
or happy funeral?
Like, just devastated for months, or if I want them to be like, all right,
yeah,
I feel better,
or like laughing at the funeral in like a way that they're not dealing with their grief, and it will like haunt them and resurface for months and months. Yes,
some way that they
on
sublimate
end.
all their pain. I'll get like a clown and like,
oh my god,
stand up, and all that stuff. I'll have someone dress up as me to haunt my funeral.
Of course,
it's a great idea. Yeah. No, but backtracking a little bit. So we took some of her jewelry that we knew she wore, and we stuck it in that drawer.
Oh,
that was nice to do too.
You were such a sweet grandson.
Oh man, I loved her. Her and I were like the closest. I used to like go and stay at her house in the summer without my family.
Yeah,
and it's so weird because my dad, afterwards, years later, was like, "Your grandma loved that when you would come and stay." And I mean, I loved her too, but I literally can't remember anything we did. Like she was retired.
Yeah.
And, like her life was not exciting. So like she just watched TV all day. So,
you guys just like palled around.
Yeah. I remember riding my bike around her neighborhood. When you're a kid and everything feels so much bigger.
Yeah.
So I could remember riding my bike, and in my mind it was like I would go for miles and hours. And I went back there as an adult, and I was like, this is a 5-minute ride. There's no way. But I spent all summer going around that circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, stuff is so much more satisfying when you're little. Like completing that circle, I'm sure was like getting in this bike ride.
Yeah.
Like you just like feel like so like checking stuff off, and then you go hang out with your grandmother who was like obviously very into you. Like grandparents can love you in such a specific way, you know, where they don't have to discipline you. They can just like really, really get in there with the love.
Yeah, they can. I mean, both my grandparents were great, but like, it wasn't until she died that I found out that my grandma Lorna was considered to be nasty to everyone else. And I was like, how is that possible?
Zach, do you have an example of that? Like, of like people doing impressions?
Again, hopefully my parents should never listen to this.
Sure.
But they have told me these stories, maybe separately. I always wonder if my mom and dad even talked about these things. But apparently, my grandmother tried to stop my parents getting married. Like, at their wedding. Was like, no. You're not doing this. She's Polish.
So she was like racist?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, everyone was back then.
Did she stand up in the like during the like? No. Does anybody have any objections, or was it like at the wedding before the wedding?
You know what? I might have made up that it was at the wedding. I'm so bad with my memories. I always make them more dramatic.
I mean,
it's also hard when it's like a story that was told to you.
Yes.
Then it's like, wait, what do I remember from the story, and what did they tell me?
Yes.
And what was true?
Yeah.
Because my grandma did a similar thing with one of my aunts. She had 7 children. So I'm like one of my aunts, where it was like a big to do, and she didn't go to the wedding. And I don't know the full story, but there's something about her like riding a pig around town. Where I'm like,
oh my god!
Like accidentally, like I think the pig ran.
What?
Wait, so the pig like ran through her legs, pulled her up off her feet,
and took her to the wedding?
The wedding pig.
story that they tell, and I'm like, that cannot
Be
be
possible.
real. That cannot. Like, I refuse to live in a world where that's actually real.
Where even
Though also,
part of that's
ooh.
true.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
amazing.
how big was that pig? Or I guess how small was your
Right?
grand? Like my grandmother was 5 feet tall. A pig could theoretically carry her.
Right.
I guess
She was probably pretty slight. Like,
Yeah.
pretty small. She was pretty small as she got older, but I guess that was probably after shrinking down a little bit again.
Right.
But also after growing. So I'm like, who knows?
Interesting.
And then pigs get real big.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they can. They
They
really
do.
can, and they're very smart.
Yeah.
So let's just postulate that this pig knew your grandmother would regret it forever, and he carried her to the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Even though
one
she married-
possible.
Yeah.
That's
'Cause- and
insane.
her thing was also a similar thing where it was like, oh, not a good reason. It was just like, he's even poorer than us.
Yep. Yep.
And they were like, and he's an orphan. He's half an not an orphan.
Half
It was
orphan?
like his
Yeah.
dad had died when he was young.
And she was like, "Don't do it. Don't do it."
It's like, you cannot marry into this family. It was just like terrible reason. And she like loved my uncle.
Right.
Actually.
Yeah.
Like I think he was one of her favorites.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
after that pig brought her to their wedding,
Yeah.
she had to
yeah.
just give it up. You know. Did he train the pig? Your uncle, possibly?
Ooh, I hope so.
I bet that's how it all worked out.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh.
It is tough though when you're like, what's the version of this story that's like the most interesting, and what's the version that's the most true?
Yeah. Yeah, that's hard.
Mhm.
Ugh.
Yeah. But anyway, I was very surprised to find out that Grandma Lorna was considered to be nasty.
Did it make you feel special though at all? Like,
Well,
she
no,
liked
it did
me.
actually, because I don't remember who told me the story first about, hey, did you know your grandma was so horrible? And they literally said to me, but when you were born, she changed. And that made me feel
Oh.
real good because my cousin Jason is a year older. And I was like,
Yeah. Sorry,
Take that,
Jason.
Like, it's not that she was a grandmother suddenly; it's that I came around.
He was here.
I mean, Zach,
I love
I like that you will fight so hard for your parents not to listen to this podcast, but I imagine you sending it to Jason as soon as it comes out.
Take that, Jason.
Oh, I love that so much.
So you like softened her with
Yeah.
your wiles.
Yes. I mean, I was so witty as a baby.
I imagine you were just like, where are all the nurses? Can one of these dummies change me?
Such a witty baby.
Yeah.
I mean, babies are kind of gross and funny,
Yeah.
all on their own. So if you changed her heart with your tiny baby self, like
Yeah.
imagine how much she loved you as like a funny little kid. Oh,
Ugh.
Like with a personality. and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
like
I was
body
really bossy
trained.
when I was a kid, though.
What?
Ooh.
Yeah, I was a real bossy kid.
How
But
I
bet
can't
she
imagine
liked
it.
that. I feel like, you know how sometimes, like, when you're around other people's kids or something and they do something that you know is not good, and you know that if you're their parent, you'd have to call them out for it, but you think it's funny?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I bet it was like that.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
I hope so. I hope it was like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, she was crazy about you. She let you go out and think you were conquering the world with your little bike.
I know. It was actually her bike. It was like a woman's the swooping bike.
I have never understood how
Me.
you tell what is a woman's bike and what is a man's
Well,
bike.
there's
Like,
male bikes. I don't know if it happens anymore. Have a bar that goes straight.
yeah.
Female bikes have a bar that goes under.
hmm
And I guess that's so you don't fall on your vagina. I
Do-
don't.
but like,
understand.
tell me a world where you'd be like, thank God I didn't have a vagina. I would have been so hurt falling on my genitals. Like,
because men would equally get as hurt.
yeah.
If you fell on that bar.
I mean, you wouldn't break your hymen, so maybe it's a hymen thing. I don't know.
It's a virginity protector.
Yeah, you get that lowered bar as a virginity protector. Interestingly, lowering your own personal bars will help you get rid of that virginity right away.
What?
I'll be sending this podcast to someone of my own.
Yeah.
Zach, you're a delight.
Oh.
I bet you were a delightful child, and I love the idea that you softened your grandmother's heart.
Yeah, me too.
And then you wore her belt.
Yeah, we
Mm.
did. We did. Are you wrapping this up?
I'm
Is that
wrapping
what
it
that
up.
is?
I'm
Great.
wrapping
Well,
it
thanks,
up.
guys. You guys are delights.
You're a delight. I know Amanda just said it. I'm saying it again.
I feel like you guys might kiss, so we're gonna like, and we don't want that in the mic. I support it
No.
in life, but I just like don't want it
Yeah.
sound wise.
We'll do that afterwards. We'll post pictures of that.
That'll be below Pope Facts. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Dying to Laugh, the podcast where funny people talk about death. Thank you to J. Michael Troutman for our logo and Molly Wissinger for our music.